3, 2, 1.
Hey everyone, my name's sorryarisaurus, not to be confused with sorryanosaurus, which is what my name used to be. We're not going to play that song. I'm playing Sound Voltex. This is the first time. I'm really excited to be able to showcase the update to Sound Voltex. Previously, the cloud version, which is the home playable version, was on Sound Voltex 3. And we are currently on arcade version number 6, called Exceed here. So, Konami just updated on December 1st of this year, and I'm pleased to show you Sound Voltex 6 Cloud. A lot of quality of life improvements to this thing. Previous one ran at like 720p natively, didn't support 120 Hz. This guy does, and it runs natively at 1080p. So usually I like to play a song, an easier song basically, to explain the game. But it occurred to me the other day that this song actually pretty much tells you how to play Sound Voltex. So the lyrics to this song are, press on beat, go right on time. And that's what you do.
I should probably jump in too. My name is TypoBox. I've been playing these rhythm games for, it's scary to say this, but about half of my life now. But I'll be doing some commentary mostly in the form of old man facts and bad thoughts. So.
TypoBox is here in the room with me because he is my husband. So this is a thing we do together. And there's a non-zero chance you'll see one of our 3 cats at some time during this stream. Oh. Alright, so the mechanics of this game. You have 6 buttons, which are the 4 white ones and the orange ones behind them, the FX buttons. And then you have 2 knobs. They're usually pink and blue. I changed mine to pink and green because I can see orange when they're stacked on top of each other better than I can see purple.
This is what we call colorblind unfriendly mode.
And the object is just to kind of hit all the buttons on time. Get a good score. Don't do that at the end.
And it's real fun just watching how that life bar will just rocket downward if you miss that last chord.
So I was playing, I will be playing the entire time with a mode on called ARS. What that means is it starts out with an orange bar, and that signifies a hard clear, so I didn't miss a certain threshold of notes. If it switches to pink or blue, that means that I've failed the hard clear, and I'm just going for a normal clear. Blue is a fail, under 60% is a or 70% is a fail. We hate 69s in this game. Not nice. 70% and above is a clear, and that's when it'll turn pink. So that was a little bit of a harder song. We're gonna take the heat down just a little bit and play an old Sound Voltex favorite. This song is called Hallelujah. And it's made its way into a bunch of other Bamani rhythm games. Typo, while I'm playing this, do you want to explain sort of what Bamani is and what the whole series?
Sure. So, Bamani is Konami's name for their series of rhythm games. There's been probably like 15 to 20 different games over the years. Started back in 1997 with Beatmania. What you probably, if you're not into the genre, what you probably are most familiar with is Dance Dance Revolution that came out in 1998, which is still alive and going. Beatmania is also alive in a slightly different form than it was in 1997. But Sound Voltex came out in 2012, I believe, as part of that series. And I would say at this stage that it may actually be the most popular game in the series right now. Certainly among a wider audience, Beatmania 2DX, the current really popular among like the super hardcore players, but for a broad spectrum, like everybody loves this game following, I would say Sound Voltex is probably the biggest one now.
Sound Voltex is easy to learn, hard to master, whereas 2DX is pretty much impossible to learn, and even harder to master. I've been playing Sound Voltex for around 2 years now. The first time I really got into it was actually at Awesome Games Done Quick 2020. They had at least one, I think it was just one, cabinet in the arcade. And obviously, Typo being a huge rhythm game person, wanted to spend a decent amount of time doing that, so I spent that time in there with him and fell in love with the game as well. And then when COVID hit, we just played it at home with the controller you see here. This is an aftermarket controller. It's not one like pulled out of a cabinet or anything. But that's what allows us to play this at home rather than in the arcade, is that custom hardware. So I'm gonna hit everybody here with a newer song to the game. This was actually just released, and sorry everyone, I'm not playing the 20. I can currently play up to 17s. The difficulty rating in this game goes up to 20. 20s are very difficult, and my personal philosophy about streaming Sound Voltex, especially in a marathon setting where everybody's not necessarily familiar with the game or familiar with rhythm games, I really like to kind of show easier charts for two reasons. First, it lets you kind of understand the mechanics of the game better and sort of demystifies it, I think, because a lot of people just see like YouTube videos of the best players in the world just absolutely killing it and getting perfect scores, and you're like, oh my god, how could I ever do that? When, you know, you're basically only ever watching the equivalent of somebody playing through Fire and Flames on Expert Mode in Guitar Hero. So I like to show people that the game is way more than that. Not that it's a problem being amazing, just that not everybody starts out amazing, and you kind of want to see people who are doing around your skill level sometimes, or maybe like a touch higher. The second reason is when there's not like a ton of high-level turns in this song, or in this game rather. Like I think there's like 13 or 14 20s now.
Yeah, I think this is the 15-20 actually, so yeah, not much.
I always worry about stagnation with streaming these because everybody wants to show off like that they can do the 14 hardest charts in the game. So I think playing lower level stuff ultimately gives you a better lens into like what kind of music is on here and that there's something for everybody to enjoy. This particular song is called Reminiscence. Like I said, it's a newer song. It was most recently added 20, like very shortly before the update. And it is a sequel to a well-known Sound Voltex song called Lacrima by the same artist, whose name is Kaneko Chiwaru. So this is designed to be a boss song. And I'm playing the advanced chart for it, which is the second difficulty in the game, and it's still a 15 out of 20.
You know it's a boss song because it gets the cool art in the background.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. I actually kind of forgot it was over. So that was a very bad score. That's what happens when you talk over button-heavy songs the entire time. You don't time well. You'll notice I had 140 earlies, which is not very good.
We've got a chat here noticing our Step Maniacs pads in the background too. That will not be part of the demonstration today, but yes, great game. Please play it.
Alright, so I'm going to play a song I'm going to score better at. This is one of the 50th anniversary memorial songs from Konami. They released a couple of years ago. And this is my personal favorite one. It's Under the Cherry Blossoms. It's probably also Typobox's favorite because it is widely speculated, understood that the vocalist is I'm gonna butcher her last name. It's like Amy Backslayer.
Just has a beautiful voice.
And she did a bunch of old stuff with a pretty prolific Bemani composer by the name of DJ Taka. And Typo just like loves all of that, so it's always cool to hear songs with Amy's vocals. She's very talented.
I'm not going to go too deep on this one, but she also did a song for the Final Fantasy 13-2 soundtrack, and that's a trip, but...
yeah, we're keeping alive the weird niche stuff opinions in this household. We are actually extremely pro Final Fantasy 13.
Oh, there we go. Looks like we've got the layout fixed up a little bit better now, so you can see more of what's going on.
Oh, that's good.
It was workable before. People weren't missing a ton. So.
Oh gosh. This is kind of a series of what we call slams. Looks a little harder than you would think. What you actually just do is flick the knobs. You don't have to like follow them through the L shape. But you gotta time them right. They have, I feel like they have comparatively tight window of timing. And they really hurt your score if you miss a series of them.
I don't know, chat was asking if this is in Dance Rush. I don't know 100% that it is, but I'd be shocked if it's not. It's one of the Konami 50th anniversary songs that got put on everything, so I assume it's there. Fun fact, this song is actually like a remix rearrangement of a song from Konami's Tokimeki Memorial series, which is a dating sim.
The more you know. Yeah, that was an exceptional score. I'm not playing and talking and scoring well today, so... And it still gave me a Volforce point, so I don't even know what it's thinking today. Volforce is kind of like the rank score system in this, so like, as you score higher on certain levels of songs, it gives you points. And it's like out of a rotating average of about 50 songs, so like it calculates that number based on like the top 50 songs that you've played and what their difficulty level is and what scoring threshold you got. I'm gonna play a song that everybody really likes, and I'm gonna let Typo tell you all about our good buddy roughsketch.
Oh no, I can't imagine trying to play a rhythm game showcase with cold fingers, by the way. That sounds awful. Way to power through it. But yeah, roughsketch. So he's been in the, what we call the J-core music scene for quite a while. Over the last few years, he's become quite prolific on Sound Voltex. He's kind of one of their go-to guys for boss songs. So this was, I don't know, probably not like officially a boss song, but it was the hardest new song in the game it released for Sound Voltex Year, the new version that came out this spring. His songs kind of have a pretty distinctive sound to them. There's a couple of instruments that he uses a lot. And what's probably most notable about this song is that it is really, really fast. So see the name of the song up there where it says 777. Now see over to the left where it says BPM and it also says 777. Yeah, you got the point. This is kind of a sequel in spirit to a previous boss song of his called 666, which is actually harder than this one.
You'll notice when we get to the scoring screen that I've got like a really cool wolf girl. Navigator is what they're called, the characters that show up on your score screen. She is the background character from 666. Unfortunately, I did not procure the 666 song pack in time for this stream, so I will not be able to show it to you, but what's really noteworthy about 666 actually is that it used like an animated avatar in the background. And she actually splits the lanes in half. It debuted during the 9th Konami Arcade Championship, or KAC. We were on Twitter at the time and watching it live, and we just like all exploded with a "she cut the lane in half."
So, a funny story about not buying this pack in time for the stream, the 666 pack. We kind of forgot that Konami puts all of their rhythm games on maintenance between 2 and 4 o'clock Central every day. Somehow the game is still working, but the website where you can purchase song packs is not. So we weren't able to add that pack for this, but somehow we're able to play. I actually kind of asked on Twitter among the community before we started, what is going on? Why is this working? Nobody had an answer. So we're just hoping it doesn't explode on us mid-set. We'll probably be fine, probably.
We're the bug finders. No, we were actually, we weren't surprised that it was letting us play songs that I had already downloaded on here, because it like downloads and, you know, puts like cache data and encrypted data on the computer, so it can, you know, play the song again without having to re-download it. And we were like, okay, well maybe we can play only downloaded songs during maintenance. And then I just tested randomly, trying to play something else that I hadn't played before, and it downloaded. So that's when we knew we were in the clear. Because I was like, I don't know if I've played this enough since it came out to have enough local music data.
Yeah, the PC releases are supposed to be affected by EMU's maintenance. They don't even get the... so the arcade games don't go into maintenance mode on weekends. The PC releases in the past have. I have no idea why this is working, but we're not going to complain.
This is originally a song by Ryu, another really like well-known prolific Bomani artist. But this is actually a remix of that song by P-Light, who does a lot of stuff on Voltex. And I love to show this chart to people because I think it's just such a good example of what the game calls affecting, which is basically it uses like the knobs in particular and the movements of the chart, like the tilting and stuff, to kind of create a more immersive experience with the song. So I'm probably going to stop talking about here because that's going to get good. It's also an example of a neat thing that Voltex will do sometimes to varying degrees of that's the technical term, it'll hide notes under a flip when it rotates the chart area. And sometimes you just have to memorize this bad boys. This one's not too bad because it was like one of them and it came pretty shortly after the flip instead of during. But there are charts where the gimmick is that it just has you play entire, like, you know, button patterns under flips. Is that Flower or Vallisneria or both?
Flower has a tiny bit of it. Vallisneria is the bad one.
Both of those songs are by DJ Yoshitaka. At this point, we're just name dropping.
He got too busy being an executive at Konami to keep making music, so...
So, little bit of a PD there, I guess. That's cool. So, you'll notice I got a AAA score and her hair turned white. AAA, the threshold for that is a 970. You get it to 980 and it becomes a AAA+. 990 is an S, and 1000 is perfect. There are other digits behind that. I don't have commas, so I don't know what those numbers are, but it's 970, 980, 990, 1000. So I'm gonna get into some touhou songs now. Another wonderful thing about Sound Voltex, and just like rhythm games in general actually, is that they tend to aggregate music from a lot of like disparate sources in video gaming, and probably the most notable one in Bamani really is touhou remixes. Probably because Zun is so generous with the licensing, honestly. Anybody can make a touhou remix and all the music is good. So I'm going to play you guys a couple of touhou songs.
For those not familiar with touhou, they're a series of bullet-hell games. Notable both for the gameplay and the music. And a creator who I think still does absolutely everything. Like art, programming, music, it's all just him, which is pretty impressive.
The art is not impressive, the fan art is great. It's about like shrine maidens. Fun fact, when Typo and I started dating, we like went on a vacation or two together, and I had never seen touhou. So he was playing this game, and it kind of just looked like he was playing like Galaga or something, except it was really hard, and for some reason his plane was an anime girl. So I was like really amused and bemused and C-mused by that.
But not E-amused.
This chart I'm playing is a 16. It's actually pretty tricky. This is one of those 16s I worked really hard on when I first got to the 16s folder. Like, weirdly hard. I feel like you kind of latch on to specific charts when you're progressing in these games. And you, like, want to clear them at all costs, even if they're, like, not what makes sense to be playing at your level. So, I kind of have Tetris effect with this song. Like, I could probably see this chart in my sleep. But there's a lot of like really tricky one-handing. So it's a great practice song for when you're trying to progress into the later levels. Stuff like that is pretty tough. Score wasn't very good on that, I must just feel like. I'm super critical of my scores for somebody who probably has audio delay that's causing like some amount of impact on it, who is also talking while she's playing. So don't be like me. It just, in fact, actually, like, part of the reason I like to showcase like lower level charts in these games is because I think people get so down on themselves about not being like really like perfect or talented at these games, or you know, getting perfect scores all the time. And you're gonna fail more than you're gonna pass when you're trying to clear new stuff. Like, you've gotta push yourself. So like, in the beginning I was really, really sensitive anytime I would fail something. And it's like, if you're playing things that challenge you, you are going to fail them more than you clear them. And you're not gonna score perfectly on them for a long time. So I always encourage people to really like take it into stride when they start playing these games and to build a healthy mentality about it. The world will not end if I get a double A+ on a 13. It will not.
I've been playing this game basically since it came out, and perfect scores are still not a thing. Like, it is a long, long, long road.
And I want to point out, like, I make this joke all the time on stream. I'm not even the best Sound Voltex player in my house. Typo comfortably clears 20s. Typo's warm-ups to try and get perfect scores are songs that I'm just been clearing. Like, he's very good. But you know what? We're both passionate about this game, and like, we haven't really talked about the charity. So like, first of all, let me ask: are there any donations that I've been just like jibber jabbering over?
So at the moment we are still receiving donations. I don't have any I can do right this second. I could talk a bit about the charity. Yeah,
go ahead and do that. That's important.
Awesome. So other donations are supporting the Children's Cancer Research Fund. The Children's Cancer Research Fund supports the brightest scientists whose ideas make the greatest impact on children with cancer. They work closely with researchers to fund innovative new projects quickly, so that the promising new discoveries can continue uninterrupted. The researchers share their findings with more than 9,000 experts around the globe, collaborating with others to accelerate discoveries. because childhood cancer affects the whole family and community, they also fund quality of life services that enhance healing and care. Learn more at childrenscancer.org.
Thank you so much. And, what made me think of wanting to, hear something about the charity too is I really like playing these games for charity, even though I'm not world's best KAC contender, right? If you have a vested interest in the game and you want to share it with people and you want to do good with it, just hop on the old Twitch or YouTube and start playing and talk about it.
Absolutely, all of this is for a great cause. You don't have to be the best player. You're still helping the charity anyway.
I know, and I'll throw this out there just because I was super excited to be in this marathon because of the charity. So my day job, I'm not a streamer or anything. I work in data analytics for cancer research. So I feel really passionately about participating in pretty much any cancer research or prevention charities that I possibly can, because I look at the data all day and it's not great. So this is kind of a nice reprieve from that. It's a good hobby to get my mind off of it, and I don't know, it's really important that I can use something that brings me joy to give back on something that concerns me. On a less serious note, you know what brings everybody just so much joy? Old Flash videos. And, oh my god, I never put it in favorites. I'm the worst person. We talked about Touhou being, pretty well loved, but we made it sound kind of niche. Well, there's something about Touhou that everybody knows, whether or not they know it's Touhou. And it is this particular song. Also, for the record, if you're interested in playing this game at home, all the menus are in Japanese. The song is called Bad Apple. You've probably heard this before.
Per our previous conversation, this is a real rhythm game now.
I mean, we do also have Conflict and Halcyon on here. We are playing Archaea, and Typo had to grind a score on the future chart for Conquest, and I swear to god he played it probably about 20 times, and it was so annoying I can't listen to Conflict anymore. Not to dig on Typo, just wasn't Halcyon's future chart dated behind that?
They were, I can't remember exactly what it was. Both of them were involved in gating either Fracture Ray or previously. I don't remember exactly what the arrangement was. But they were both being worked on at the same time, and both took a lot of work to get the scores they needed on it.
Yeah, so I have not listened to or played any charts for those songs in a while, because I just don't want to hear them again. This chart is actually very good practice. It does a lot of, rather complicated one-handing, but in a way that won't, torch your score. So it's really good practice for some, 17, 18 level stuff where you have to do some really significant one-handing in order to be able to clear the song.
I should probably clarify, when she's talking about one-handing, that's largely these sections where there's a knob going on, and the other hand has to do a lot of work during that, especially situations where the charting forces that hand to pull over to the opposite side of the controller. So for example, if you've got a red laser, which is the right knob, and you've got buttons happening at the same time on the right side of the chart, then your left hand has to start hitting those buttons, and that can get a little awkward. The natural impulse is to kind of just split the controller in half. Left hand does the left side, right hand does the right side, and that will do all right for you through about 14s and 15s. But as you climb up from there, it becomes very critical that you figure out how to kind of unsplit it and be able to kind of adjust on the fly.
So that was Bad Apple. And before that, we were talking about the charity, so hopefully we didn't talk too much over it, but the song before that was Marissa Stole the Precious Thing. which is also noteworthy for having a really popular YouTube animation. Other things that are inspired and very well beloved, related to Touhou, by the way, Undertale. Toby Fox is like a massive Touhou fan. So that's my little plug for playing Touhou, in addition to playing Sound Voltex.
Like his musical style in a lot of ways is very directly inspired. The combat in Undertale and Deltarune is, and there's also a nice little shout out at the beginning, near the beginning of Deltarune Chapter 1, where it announces the name of the background track, and it looks exactly like Touhou does it. It's just a nice little wink and a nudge to those of us into the Touhou series, but some cool stuff.
I forgot to put another thing in my favorites folder. This is a song called Renegade Fruits. It's by another one of my quite possibly my favorite rhythm game artist. Debate on how to pronounce it. Some people call it Topazolite, some people call him T-Pazolite. We just call him T-Paz because we like to, shorthand everything. Just an amazing, amazing composer. Good stuff. If you play Archaea, you're probably super familiar with him too because of Tempestissimo. So we talked about roughsketch and Tablet. Both of them are actually part of a group of musicians, a label called Hardcore Tennessee. Typa, do you want to tell us about Tennessee while I'm trying to remember how to play this chart?
Yeah, so like this music scene in Japan exists. I would say it's probably born of and inspired by these kinds of rhythm games, but it really has a life of its own now, to the point that the games are kind of pulling more from the album releases than the games are feeding inspiration to the music circle. So Tennessee is a circle of artists in Japan. Several of the artists that you see commonly on Sound Voltex are involved in that. The rhythm game Waka, that you can find it in round 1 arcade near you or an arcade 3 hours away from you. It's made a direct partnership with Tennessee, so a ton of the music on there is from them. But tons of great music, pretty varied in styles too. You get T-Paz White is kind of like a little bit of almost like a speedcore flavor, but you've got others that go more like the hard bass direction, things like that. There's something in there for everyone if you like this music.
They do a yearly release called Hardcore Syndrome. Hardcore Syndrome is also colloquially known as my gym playlist. Oh, so close on AAA. See, that's what happens when I don't talk. I score well. But yeah, I mean, Tennessee is fantastic and worth checking out. So I think we're about halfway through, if I'm keeping time correctly.
That's about right.
Okay, cool. So I'm gonna play a couple of just good songs. I wouldn't say there's anything over the top and intriguing about the charts or anything. It's just gonna be good music to listen to.
And I thought you were gonna play some bad songs today.
Oh, absolutely terrible songs. Okay, I will level with you all though. Sound Voltex has an incredible amount of music, a large amount of music. Sound Voltex has some of the best, electronic music game, J-core songs I've ever heard. It also has some of the worst god-awful music I have ever heard. It's got a lot of, Vocaloid and J-pop stuff. Which is very hit or miss for me, but,
there is some very good Vocaloid on Voltex.
I'm not saying all Voltex, Vocaloid is bad. Liminality is fantastic. You've got a lot of good Cosmo, Miku songs. But there are some songs I listen to and I'm just like, can I have that time of my life back? But I think that speaks more to the variety than it does, like, it being a trash heap or anything.
I have to imagine that I don't actually have this number in front of me, but I'm pretty sure arcade Voltex is somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,000 unique songs now. Like, there's going to be a few stickers in that.
This song is by an artist called Space Electro. I didn't put the song on my set list this time, but they have a Touhou remix called Fire in My Heart. That is just like chef's kiss. Go listen to it right now. Thank you later. Pretty tricky. There's a lot of really complex knob patterns in there. Like, you might have noticed we were doing a lot of like X's and triangles and curves. Heavy curvature in the knobs on these games is actually kind of like, I would say it's a little bit of a newer thing. The Exceed Gear engine supports more curviness, I guess, in the way they can do the knob patterns. So you see a lot more stuff that's like wavy and organic instead of like forming really like pointed geometric shapes. Unfortunately, my favorite example of this isn't on Konasute right now, but I do think it's really pushing the game in like an interesting direction play-wise, because like as the versions progress, we're still learning new chart formations basically and different like technical stuff that you need to master.
That was a lot of words to say that triangles are evil.
Oh yeah, the triangles are really hard. The song is called Electric Injury. It's good. Pretty knobby. This type of pattern is like, once you get it, you got it. But it's kind of hard to get your head around. And this is just like the coolest way to draw a turret ever. I love the way the turret is done, even if I'm not always like amazing at it.
Something that's actually really cool about the mechanics in this game, so the lasers don't actually care about how fast you turn the knobs, it's only if you're turning in the right direction. Which means that there are a lot of different, like, visual layouts that they can draw the same patterns that force the same play. So they can do a lot of things that just, like, kind of look cool without it actually changing how the turn plays. Like, basically the way it works is that if the laser is moving to the left and you are turning the knob to the left at any speed at the same time, you are hitting it. That is all that is required. The sharper lasers don't require you to turn it faster or something like that.
What that's really nice for is, like, me personally, when I'm reading a more complex knob pattern, I'm just actually sort of parsing which direction it's going in. I'm not like processing all of the visual data about it.
You'll actually see some situations where they take advantage of that between like easier and harder parts of the same song, where they will lay out a pattern in a way that's pretty easy to read on the lower level version, and then have basically the same knob pattern going on, but like spread it out more, like have the lasers go outside the play field and do things like that. It doesn't actually change what you have to do, it just makes it harder for your brain to interpret what's going on. And sometimes that alone is enough to add some difficulty.
Yeah, there's a lot of just like visual processing noise that goes into adding difficulty to Sound Voltex. But the nice thing is, like, the execution is still pretty hard, so it's not really in a gimmicky way. Like, they're not just throwing a bunch of stuff at you, and it's like, oh, it's really hard to see where the notes are, so this is difficult. No, it's like, I'm trying to learn how to process all of these different ways of more or less doing the same output. I just think it's a very clever way to design it. So we talked a little bit about favorite artists and Konasute, and you guys have probably heard of Camellia. You guys have probably heard of Beat Saber. You guys have probably heard of Friday Night Funkin'. This is a Camellia song.
If you were just looking for a value-add Twitter follow, Camellia is great. He's at Cametech, C-A-M-E-T-E-K. He's basically just one of us. That makes a lot of awesome music.
And fun fact, like I said, that Toby Fox really loves touhou. Camellia really loves Toby Fox. You'll actually see conversations with, like, him and Temmie and Toby Fox on there, so just, like, it makes my little brain sing a little bit. That's where I get my serotonin. There are a lot of, like, boss parts by Camellia in this game. I feel like where he really got a big part of his start was Sound Voltex, but obviously he's expanded so far beyond it. This isn't really a boss chart. It's one that came out, like, right before Exceed Gear dropped in the arcades. But to be honest, I don't feel like it gets some of the love that songs like Bang and Burst do. So I'd rather play this one than, like, the really well-known songs.
Yeah, like, he has actually been around since the very beginning of Voltex, since the first version. So one thing that we haven't covered, a lot of the music on Voltex, a lot of the original music, comes from contests where they just open it up for independent artists to submit music to be added to the game. His first song on any rhythm game was in the very first version of Voltex. He got into the game through a contest by remixing a Nekomata Master song. One of the very prolific Bamani artists.
One of my favorites. No Nekomata Master on here because honestly, my favorite Nekomata Master songs are not in Sound Voltex. They're all in 2DX. But Camelia's remix of Sayonara Heaven is super good. Really, it's kind of hard to find bad Camellia. Like, I think people don't always love his stuff with Nanahira, but like when he did Perennial Zero, one of his albums, he actually did like an artcore song with Nanahira, and it was incredible. So like, just, I don't know, the genre versatility is incredible. You go from something like Sushi and Peace to something like Midnight Amaretto, and then Fenoriza off of that album. But I will tell you definitively, Artcore Camellia is best Camellia. So I'm going to do a little bit of a BMS block here. Typo, feel free to tell us about BMS. I am not going to talk during this song. This chart is hard.
So, BMS, we mentioned Beatmania 2DX earlier, which is Konami's longest running current rhythm game, I believe, or maybe DDR is slightly longer, but at any rate, definitely like the premiere. Yeah, this is like what you think of when you think of a Bamani game. So what BMS is, it is a platform game that people built to emulate the same gameplay on PC. Something that's really cool about it is kind of unlike most other things like that out there, say like Stepmania, which is a similar concept for DDR. There are groups that organize contests, kind of like what I was referring to with Sound Voltex, where people will create song packages for BMS, and the community will vote on them, and the winners of that vote will kind of get bundled up and distributed for people to play. Now Voltex has borrowed a lot of songs from that domain. Absurd Gap that Ari's playing right now is an older one from BMS. The song is probably from, I want to say 2006, 2008, somewhere in that neighborhood. Has been on Sound Voltex since the very beginning. This was a launch day song on Sound Voltex the first version. Tons of great music there. I suspect we're going to see a couple more songs from BMS, kind of spanning the history of it over the next few songs, you know? These patterns here with the upwards are going back and forth and having to hit those side switches that are a lot harder to deal with. Figuring out the timing on them in particular is just super important. Very much has a rub your belly and tender feeling to it.
Don't look at the score. Don't look at the score.
Look at the score. It was good. We're not doing that.
That song is really hard to time. The difficulty number says 16. My heart says 18. It's funny because you can... There are absolutely players who have, like, different skill sets in this game, and almost all of it is kind of informed by what rhythm games they played before it to some extent. A lot of people who started with Sound Voltex are... There we go. A lot of people who started with Sound Voltex tend to be really good at the knobs. Like, that's the gimmick, that's the gameplay mechanic they learned. Whereas if you're somebody like Typo who started with, like, DDR and Beatmania, you're really, like, button focused. And like something we've kind of just like casually observed as I've been learning the game, because we're nerds and we like to talk about this stuff, is that like I'm disproportionately good at knobs, and like find myself occasionally reading patterns like better than Typo does, but like Typo will outplay me all day every day because he's just so much better at the button stuff.
So I have an important question about this song. Is this song from O2? Sorry, I had to. No, this is another BMS song. Very well known in that circle. This was basically the... it's also a pretty old song. I want to say about 2008-ish. Well known for being basically the single hardest popular song chart out there for quite a while. On this game, on BMS, but also this game has something like it. It's courses, you call them like class courses or courses or whatever. And the very highest one on BMS for a long time ended in Freedom Dive, and it's absolutely insane. And let me see if I can just grab a link for you guys. Because I feel like if you haven't seen this thing too. The song is on Waka, yes. I have not played much Waka, but that is actually a song that I have personally played on it, so.
The Waka machines at our round one are like right behind the Voltex machines, so we get like the sampler of what people who don't play a lot of rhythm games are interested in playing from Waka. And of course, you can kind of tell who has based on what they pick. This is like one of those songs where we know a rhythm gamer is approaching. One miss.
Oh.
One.
2 miss.
What?
2 miss. He picked one up at the very, very end.
Wait, what? No, I have 7 errors, so...
When you miss knobs, you tend to pick
Yeah.
up several errors at once.
Knobs, tick, and each tick is what it adds the score for them. So you might, you know, miss like 2 seconds of knob or whatever, and like 30 ticks. I'm just pulling those numbers out of my butt. It's by an artist by the name of Silent Room, who I think started out with BMS. A lot of other rhythm games, a lot of him in Archaea. And,
including this song.
Kind of another, like, genre bender, but dude does some, like, really solid, you know, drum and bass kind of IDM-y stuff. That's the technical term, IDM-y. But this is one of, like, the first songs I fell in love with playing Voltex, like, when I didn't know most of the music. It'll always hold a very, very special place in my heart as being, like, one of the top motivators for me to get into rhythm games. Like, if I can find music like this, then these games are gonna gel for me. Because I think the biggest thing that, like, made it an obstacle for me earlier is, like, my familiarity with the Monty games, for the most part, as a younger person, was DDR. And DDR was so, like, R&B, you know, pop, dance kind of music, and, like, that's just not really ever been my thing. Like, I grew up on a lot of, like, Tool and Radiohead because of my mom, so I couldn't exactly get into, like, a dozen songs that sound like Aqua, you know? Sorry, JB, if you're watching. I love you.
So it's kind of funny, too, because DDR is not that way anymore, and it's kind of caused a little bit of a weird rift in the community where there's people who miss old DDR music and people who want nothing to do with old DDR music. And
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure the line is precisely it being, like, 29 years old.
Yeah, I just, like, I don't have the nostalgia for it, and it's not my sound at all. But there's nothing wrong with it in the slightest. This song is going to close out my little BMS sub-block. I love this song. I love Leaf. I love everything about all of it. If you are going to go on YouTube and look up these songs after, there is a huge content warning for the video for this song.
I mean, you say this is closing out your BMS block, but I think you might have one more coming.
Maybe that's on the BMS chopping block. That's a really good pun. You'll understand why in like 10 minutes. So in a little bit here, you'll understand what I'm going to say now, which is this is like the only song in Sound Voltex that has a jump scare. Alright, you ready for some spooky? If you watch aforementioned content warnings video, those knobs look like something from the video. It's a really cleverly designed chart. Typo, I'm finishing this out. You want to just like tell us about Leaf and Opti and the gang?
I mean, another prolific BMS artist. Opti is the guy who does the background videos for his BMS songs, and they are like super high effort, super high quality, cool stuff. Some of them are ultra creepy. There's this one, and there's another song, Mope Mope, that kind of goes in that direction. But then there's others that are just kind of cool, like pretty solid art. So I'll throw out there for you, Ari. It looks like we probably have time for 2 to 3 more songs. You may also be able to split some lines now if you would like.
I may also be able
to split some lines in half if you would like.
Oh, alright.
You might have to log out and back in to do that one.
We're out of...
Yeah.
Okay.
That's why I was able to do that.
We'll do that as the finale then.
Okay.
So you said 2 or 3?
Yeah, probably more on the 2 side.
Okay. Then unfortunately that's going to kind of decrease the number of hard songs we're going to play. But it means our BMS block is intact. So this is a very new song to Sound Voltex. And a very meme song.
This is one that I would highly recommend everyone looks up the video for because it is adorable. It is called Take or Bamboo. And the chart is kind of a meme too. So.
This is, in fact, made by the same people who did Thief, if you are familiar.
They actually made a new song recently for a recent BMS contest called Tanaka. And it is like an entire song with incredibly varied lyrics, where all of the lyrics use only the syllables ta, na, and ka. It is absolutely incredible. Like, it is a masterpiece that they managed to pull that off.
If you watch up in the top left corner, you get a fun treat. The speed is changing like darn near constantly.
Alright, we're about to have to do a fun trick here and slow the speed way down here in a second. Because this gets insanely fast. And one last gimmick for you. Is that hold really only a single tick? You can't pick it back up? That's
yeah. So if I don't change my speed, my scroll speed is 8.0. I read at about 800 BPM roughly. And if I don't pull it down really far, it ends up being like 1300 BPM. Okay, so
check the 20 folder real quick to see if it's there. That's going to be the easiest way to find it.
Check what folder?
20.
Okay, I can just check the 15 one.
Well, but there's only like 2 songs in the 20 folder.
There's only
You're
one.
going to have to relog. You don't have to close the game.
Okay.
You should be able to just,
Is it the top one? Middle one? Okay. Never remember. Such is the life of a game where everything is in Japanese. Between my 2 years of taking Japanese in college and Typo doing a bunch of Duolingo and WaniKani, we have one semi-proficient Japanese speaker between us.
Okay, Japanese reader.
I know how to like conjugate verbs and stuff. I know sentence structure, but you throw kanji at me and I'm like, what is this?
So we managed to get our hands on the song that we were referencing earlier, 666, so we're gonna close out with that one here.
I cannot begin to tell you how excited I am to finally show this in an event. This was not on Gravity Wars, the previous version of Konasute. So this is like hefty big deal for me. I'm not playing this 20 because Typo gave us 20.
It's like the only song in this game that I have like seriously tried for and haven't cleared. It's by far the hardest song in the game.
66620 is actually a 21.
There's just not enough 20s in the game yet for them to get away with that. This song is just great too.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk much, just enjoy.
Oh, the Rhythm Gamer head shake. We all do it. Every one of us. Oh, look, friend around. She's not going to be our friend for long, though.
She cut the weight in half! Oh!
Oh, so close.
Like I said, we hate 69s in this game, but we love 666s. So yeah, that's what I've got. I'm so excited to have been able to showcase not only Exceed Gear itself for the first time on Twitch, legally, that I know of, but also to be able to show 666, which is a song that I have enjoyed for many years now. That's upsetting to think about. And
that song really is like...
What?
That song is almost 2 years old now.
Yeah, I can't handle that. We never got a KAC 10, so this is the last KAC boss song we have. But yeah, I really appreciate everybody tuning in and donating and supporting this like really, really important cause. I don't stream a lot on my own right now just because life, but I try to do marathons whenever possible because I really like doing this like for charity. So Typo, anything you want to add?
No, I don't have a whole lot. I think we've got some blindfolded Pokemon Red coming up next, so that should be a treat. But yeah, I think that's all we got.
Yeah, thanks everybody.